day, everyone. I'm your host, Devane Apollonia, and my guest here today is Alexis Scott Kelvin and Miss Destiny Parshu. Today, we're here to talk about domestic violence and child abuse. Can you introduce yourself, Miss Alexis?
Hi, I'm Alexis Scott Kelvin, and I was a part of the Youth Ambassadors in 2023.
Miss Destiny?
Hi, my name is Destiny Parshu, and I am currently studying at Galen University as a student. I haven't done anything too important as yet, so yeah, short
Nice.
introduction.
So, what I have here today, we're going to be discussing about domestic violence and child abuse. It is crucial for creating a safe environment for all. Raising awareness, understanding the science, knowing where to seek help, and empower youths to protect themselves and others. So, I have my first question for Miss Destiny. What do you understand by the term domestic violence and child abuse?
The term what I understand about domestic violence, it could be between two people in a relationship or between two adults. They don't have to be in a relationship. Either one is being abused or both parties are being abused, either financially, mentally, and physically. And when it comes to child abuse, I would say it's between a guardian and a child being hurt or being neglected by their guardian or parent.
That's a very nice point, Miss Destiny. Going on into our second question, Miss Alexis, can you identify some signs that might indicate someone experiencing domestic violence or child abuse?
I mean, sometimes people, you can notice certain triggers. They have certain triggers. They become hesitant to talk about certain stuff or participate if you try like get them involved in games or something friendly like that. And of course, there's physical signs. So like you can notice like bruise spots or just the way they act.
I agree with, the signs because honestly, people tend to behave differently. We have that trauma building up, and so with that, people in this situation tend to, feel, okay, everyone's going to hit me. I have to keep myself safe. Everyone's going to tell me something. I have to keep myself safe. And so that's why we're here today to, raising awareness, like looking at the signs. We're here to help and tell people where we can find help and who you can go to. Another question. Miss Destiny, why is it important to speak up or seek help if you or someone you know experiencing domestic violence or child abuse?
I would say that, well, in the case of women, in the case of Belizean women, we are trained, I would say, to protect our abusers because a lot of people see it as that we're exploiting or that we are, bringing down our Belizean men, which I don't believe that is the case because Belizean men have been catered and they make it seem like it's okay to hit women and don't have any consequences on that. And I believe that's why women should speak up and stop protecting their abusers.
There's a lot of people who stay in domestic violent
Right.
cases because one, they're scared to leave, and sometimes it's by force, and sometimes they're just cultural appropriation.
Right. And especially if you, as a woman, you're depending on this man for everything, you're kind of binded to him in that domestic situation. And that's why a lot of women, like you said, are scared to leave because they're dependent on this person. And some men as well, if they're dependent on their women and, vice versa. So.
Coming to the surface, trying to say that, it's not only the man saying, okay, I beat she because I love she and she can't left me. But it's also the woman
Right.
because there's some time where not all men, but they have that soft spot.
That's true.
And you take advantage of him and the woman becomes the abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're heading on to child abuse. So I have another question. What are some safe ways to seek help or support if you suspect someone is being abused?
I'd say become a person of trust for that person because people in that situation, they don't really have a good sense of what trust is. Trust and love, different things. So you have to really like gain their trust to make you know that, hey, I there for you. So they feel safe talking to you and coming to you about certain situations. I'd say become a person of trust.
I agree with that. I would say being that person's friend and being truthful and honest about where you stand in their life knowing that this person is coming to you with this information, this very important information, you cannot use it against them or go and exploit their information, because Belizeans like to talk. So I would say, like, don't put it upon yourself to go and tell this person's business if they came and trust you with it. That's how I feel.
So is there, like, feel free if you want to, is there any story that you would like to tell of you or someone that has already told you a story where they were at their lowest or this situation happened, but they came from it, they used it? Is there any story that you would like to tell?
When I was in high school, yeah, people used to come to me a lot and talk to me about, their home problems and stuff. And I had this one very close friend who used to like to tell me about, like, trouble she was having with her mother specifically, because she lives in a household where her parents aren't, like, together. So she grew up with her stepfather. And he became a very interesting part of that household. And she felt as if she didn't have any kind of support from her mother because of her stepfather. And she never really had anybody to go to. And I remember she came to me the morning after, like, a very bad fight with her. And she would just stay in tears. She never knew what to do because she felt like she never had nobody to go to. So I remember sitting with her and talking to her and telling her that, things happen, but you still have other people who care. And maybe this is a rough patch, but you still have family, your aunties and stuff like that. And maybe your mom definitely will come around. And I reassured her that, even though sometimes you go through rough patches with parents, at the end of the day, most likely your parents just want the best for you. And they have your genuine interest. But at that point in time, knowing her mother wasn't able to be there for her as that primary support, I guess I kind of took over that role, and ensured her that I there for you, for now, and, as a friend. So, yeah, there's that.
I went through a similar thing just like that with my friend. She wasn't the easiest child. I could say that. She wasn't the easiest, but the way she was being treated at home was not something that a child should go through. In, first farm, you're just figuring out yourself. And yes, she was a little bit rebellious, and her mother didn't understand that. And so I was kind of her safe space until we got to Fort Farm, and it just got worse. And, my other friends encouraged her, find a family member that you can go to for the time being, because right now this situation is not for you and your mental health. It was really impacting her as a person. Like, her whole demeanor changed. She wasn't the person that I knew, honestly. Like, she just came from, like, this ray of sunlight to, like, probably the darkest cloud ever. So she did eventually leave her mother's house and went to another parent's house, and then went to her aunt's house. So yeah, I understand that being a safe space for your friends if they're ever in a situation, either child abuse or domestic violence.
Well, I like to share if that's what we're doing now. So a quick backstory of my high school life, because I've graduated. I was a executive peer helper. I was a role model. I was so much things, right, without me actually applying. I was like, So me being a peer helper, that means confidentiality, respect, being trustworthy. And honestly, I really took on my roles at school very serious. In the midst of third farm, I left for 2 weeks. That's where I met Alexis.
We left for 2 weeks.
We left for 2 weeks to become your ambassadors of Belize, right? So I packed up my little life in a suitcase for 2 weeks, and I went to venture on into the world with 9 other young people like myself, right? So I got to learn other people from, Honduras and El Salvador, which I became very, very close with. And, you tend to see how everyone is different from where we are and who we are. So coming back, I had a lot of work. I'm a science major, so I had 9 labs. I had so much homework. But with the cooperation of certain teachers who, I'm a very good student. I get the work done. There was a lot of load taken off just because of that. So mental health. I just want to bring that to the table because it's a part of the story. So being a peer helper, it's like being a mini counselor, but you are not allowed to give advice. You are there to listen, and you are there to advise that person to go to the counselor herself, you know? And if she is comfortable enough, you could go with her as well. But as a peer helper, these are some things that you should refer regarding if it's really need to be talked about. So abuse was one. Domestic violence, being sexually harassed. If those things were talked about and a student came to me and said, oh, my dad touched me this morning, my mom touched me this morning, or yesterday I got home and this and that happened, and it's something that fell under that category, I have to report it. And if I don't, I get the consequence of getting my title taken away. Because if I knew about something so severe, why not bring it to the counselor who has more power over me? Right? So with all the long time I was a peer helper, I never gotten to that point where there was a situation that I needed to report. Right? But outside of school, there was a lot more situations besides
Yes.
everyone being a student. There was this young lady that felt very close because her situation, she was in the system, and people, I've known this young lady way before I got to Palote, so it's very like a good bonding where, okay, we went to church together, we done a lot of stuff together, and then she became my classmate, which was totally fine. And so her situation was that she is very old, but she got set back in the classes. So she was like a year older than me, and so she belonged in the class above me, but she's in the same class as I am. So social media,
Yeah.
mental health. I know you guys will know about people crying and videoing themselves and posting it, right? So, in my opinion, that's vulnerability. Putting yourself out there to let people know, she's soft, or this is how she carries herself. So, this young lady tend to go to social media a lot to let out those feelings. And as a friend I am, I took it upon myself, which is a thing that I tend to do a lot. If I see something wrong with a friend that I know that I could talk to and get them from A to B, I'll do it. So I brought it to her attention, saying that social media is not the place to let your feelings out. And I understand that trusting people is hard, but while the time goes on, I'm here, as a friend. She got bullied. She got raped. She had to move out of places a lot. So she was always over the place. She was never knowing what's her next
Not
move.
stable.
Yes.
Not stable environment.
So that tend to trigger missing school a lot. Coming late, coming untidy, you're not fully groomed. So that raised a lot of concerns of students, giving them a reason. Oh, look how she look. Or why she always come late, or why she walk like this, or
Without fully understanding.
never
her
knowing
situation.
what exactly people go through. So I took it upon myself. I tend to invite her out, to go to stuff like, I mentioned that if I know something, I share with friends, knowing that they can benefit from it. But I'll never force a friend to come with me somewhere if you don't want to, right? And where I go, I always meet new people, right? So I invited her out. This one time it was to our Christians girl group, because maybe sometimes you get intimidated by men. You never know the situation. So I invite her out. She came and we had a blast. And so they had this session where you reflect, where you feel free. It's an open discussion like we're having, but among girls who've been in the same situation or worse. So after hearing so much stories, she got the courage to share her story. And so she talked about everything that she'd been through, just sharing. At some point you had to stop to progress, and you had a few tear ups, but she gained the courage from this group to say, okay, she's not the only person. She's not the only one that has been raped in the world. So, to this day, I know her. She graduated with me. I know her. She's a very well person. She still carries herself, the quiet person she is, but she understands that, you know, life is a lesson. You know, we learn every day. And so, during the school year, we were off and on, just because, you know, I've been busy, she's been busy. But there are times where we spent the whole entire week together at school, you know, getting the work done, helping her out. You know, I'm a person where I'll give for you and I expect nothing back. That's the type of friend I am. So, you know, that built the trust. And so they had this scenario where her brother was like kicked out, and then she was kicked out the same day. We had some project at school, and then that really turned out the way it's supposed to. She wanted to do the project, but you know, everything was so messed up.
Circumstances.
Right. So, you know, I helped her out. I made her join the group, and she contributed what she could. As a friend, I told her it's okay, but she still wanted to. And so, stuff like that, I referred to the counselor before I became a peer helper. So this built a reputation of me becoming a trustworthy student at Palote. And so, you know, referring this story to the counselor, she got helped. She got on the feeding program at school. You know, she got help with tutoring, because I became a tutor as well at school. So I'm your own friend helping you, and it was like it's a bonding time,
became her
because
person of trust.
yes. And so all this, like, you know, watching her walking across that stage, I was extremely proud because I was there. And then, you know, in the process of this coming to the end in Fort Farm, she lost her grandmother, where her grandmother was the main support, because her parents like were absent, if not, then very distant. So losing her grandmother like really put her on the edge, and we had graduation like in a few days. So like it really put her in that state of mind, like, is it really worth it? And so that's where I had to step in and be like, you're at the line where we're going to finish. Don't give up. You're going to do this because you will honor her. And I've been in a situation where I lost someone as well. So like it was that time where I could understand that feeling. You know, I haven't been in the same situation as her, but I know people who have, and I know people who could have helped her. That's what I did. I referred her to the counselor. I referred her to the group. She joined. She got help. As a good friend, you know, seeing someone being successful off of my help is something that makes me proud, because that's a person who I am. And now we're here to talk about the child abuse and domestic violence, which is something that is being covered by the sheets. It's not coming to the light. No one wants to talk about it, and I understand it's a hard topic, but we're getting older by the day, and society is normalizing these issues, thinking it's okay to beat up your boyfriend.
Yes.
It's okay to slap your girlfriend, and no one's going to come help you. And then putting these stuff in people's mind is very
that's true.
a very bad thing, honestly. And so you're trauma dumping. What causes you to do this to someone who's supposed to love you? And honestly, we really need to talk about it as people, because if you don't talk about it, then what exactly are we doing? And if you don't bring it to the table, then who's going to hear you? You have to be the voice. You might only be the one voice, you know, but you don't know how loud you can scream until you actually scream.
Because when you're bringing awareness to certain topics, you're not only talking for yourself, you're talking for other people who don't have that voice to speak up.
Also, it stems from the point where some women are pushed to that point, because some women won't willingly hit on their partner unless they're pushed to that point. You know, being provoked or something to that nature. Like you push and push and push, and that person finally snaps. And that's when the narrative comes about, oh, Belizean woman crazy.
Oh, yes.
Belizean woman this.
There
the
it
woman
is.
that
But they don't bring up
But
the
they don't bring
emotion,
out
the
the part-
emotional.
exactly the emotional challenges that they put their women through. So that's
true.
also another thing that we should look at, when it comes to the women's side. But yes, I agree with the women. Some women are just,
Yeah,
basic.
and that kind of tie into domestic violence. Definitely tie in with child abuse because sometimes it's the parents in the another household and they have kids, and the kids see this to happen, and sometimes children soak that up. So when they grow up, maybe they reflect the habit they see their parents made do, or sometimes they become victims of the same abuse.
Right.
And they don't know what to do because
They
they're
carry
kids.
on.
That's why I feel like these things should be talked about, especially in like primary schools and stuff.
Yes.
Because I personally, they never talk to you as much as they should have about situations like this until we reach high school. And I feel like when you already did a high school, you already in a confused state. You already gone through so much, and then like sometimes you feel like you can't talk about it because that me back then, this and now, I supposed to grow from that, but you weren't given an opportunity to know what you were supposed to grow from.
Right. And also in primary schools, I'm not sure because we didn't have one. Do primary schools have counselors?
That's what I
I-
really
I-
wanted to
I don't know.
pinpoint.
Yeah.
Because from what exactly you could like see in general here in Belize, we tend to at the high school we are put counselor, but everything starts from home. Everything starts from home. Give a scenario. Johnny get lash up the morning for go to school. All right, Johnny get wheel up skin. This is what we identify signs, right? Johnny ma beat her with this belt, the nice thick leather belt, right? Johnny go to Holy Redeemer Primary School, big up Holy Redeemer, right? Johnny go to Holy Redeemer. Johnny boat, a decent 4 foot something, right? In a standard 4.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Right, so he have the understanding to where bad
Right
for
from wrong,
good,
right from wrong.
right? All right, Johnny mommy beat her, send her to school, no lunch, no money, just drop her to school. How you get back home? Johnny I have to figure it out, cause mommy only could drop her, you can't pick you. All right, Johnny gone to school, gone to class. He's very close with his teacher, right? We call her Miss Brown, right? Miss Brown look upon Johnny, and you could see that Johnny never groom correct. You could see that the collar mess up. You could see that all the buttons they never ready. You could see that the pants smash up. His socks high and low, 2 different color. All right, Miss Brown pulling Johnny pan inside. What happened? What's going on today, Johnny? A simple question an adult should ask a child. How is your day going? How did your morning start? A simple question a teacher should ask a student. Something that is not being asked how it should. People, Belizeans, tend to listen and tell story
Yes.
second
Gossip.
hand and put in their own main character and their own monster and their own
Change up the
gun and their
story.
own parachute.
And when the story reached back to you, they're like, oh,
Yes, because
when that happened,
take that same scenario there, but in a Johnny Ma perspective.
correct?
My son made a cup start, I had to discipline him. I I never beat up on him, I just discipline. And if I want to take away from me now, and I don't know what he do.
Like, oh, he got one knee scratch, and
Then
that's
she
how
turned to victim, and then the story gets
he
switched.
victimized himself. I think a lot of parents fail to realize. Stop using your children as emotional toilets for your unhealed trauma.
Please.
Honestly, stop using your children as emotional toilets because they don't deserve it and they're innocent to your situation.
And they have to grow up with that.
Exactly. And if you didn't take it upon yourself to get help, don't put it on your kids.
I agree.
Don't bring it into their generation. You're just continuing this trauma for what?
Because kids are very aware. They see these things happening, and in that case, if Johnny may grow up forgetting our abusive relationship, he may think it okay. Because he may be like, oh, I see my mom do this, my daddy, this is just how things
That's how
supposed to
things
be,
are.
you know? So I was say about that work too. You know, stuff like that. And it's important, especially because I feel like men too, they don't really like talk about their emotions. Because, you know, they also grow up with that thing they hang over their head that, oh, I'm a man, just take it as it is. You don't have to talk about this. But at the end of the day, that's still your emotional well-being. It's important to talk about these things so you could grow from that and turn to a better person. And you don't need all that. You really don't need all that. The hang over your head, all that stress, all that, you know.
And the same thing when it comes to men. A lot of them, were abused as children and didn't overcome that. And a lot of them become narcissistic
That's true.
and abusive. But, in the case of narcissists, they can hide who they really are very well. And, when you go into a situation with a narcissist, you don't know who they really are. And then you come to find out this person went through all of this trauma in their past and they're bringing it to you for no reason, because Belizean men don't like to talk about how they feel. And it's a sad stigma that we have around our Belizean men. They need help. They really do. They really need help. And I think there should be more safe spaces for men to speak on how they feel.
With other
Honestly.
men.
Without any judgment.
Yes. And I feel like that's where the whole bromance thing come in, because I feel like boys feel more safe to talk about their experiences with other men, because when they talk to like females about it, they feel like they supposed to listen to the female. Not the other way around, because that's not how it's supposed to be.
Right.
But like in that case, you just disregard your mental health and your well-being for somebody else, but you not take into consideration that maybe that female want best for you too, and you to give, she also want to give. So I feel like she expect, I talk to you, you talk to me.
Yeah.
But she can't get that because you don't want to talk in a whole. So it's important for like be aware of those things and seek help. And another thing is, I feel like there should be a fine line set between discipline and child abuse.
Correct.
Because that scenario right there, Johnny Ma could have very well said that, oh, I just want to discipline her. But to wheel up your son like that, no. But to she, because there isn't really like a set standard, everybody said, oh, to me, this is what discipline is. So like that kind of like a personal thing for where discipline there and then with child abuse there.
I would want you to take this, not as an advice, but as a suggestion from a young person. Have conversations with your child. Have a plan for the future.
Yeah.
If this supposed to happen to daddy, what are we going to do as a unit? If this will happen to mommy, what are we going to do to it as a unit?
Communication.
If this happened to mommy and daddy at the same time, what as you as a child, not knowing the age that you're going to be in that situation, what are you going to do? Get your child prepared. Stop depending on others to take care of your children. I understand that you might be busy, but as a parent, if you prepare your child how to carry themselves, to be responsible, to talk, to
never be too busy for your children.
exactly. If it's urgent, parents, I'm so sorry. Parents. But honestly, if you prepare your child for the future, it might sound, oh, y'all are 6, but how you do so much? Now make other people opinion and concerns get in the way between you and your child, because at the end of the day, you not live forever. I know to say, but I'm just really being real, because
either
nobody
you teach
live
it
forever.
or they learn it by themselves.
Exactly. And I
And the
really
world that teach them are very hard.
Yes.
lesson.
exactly. And as a parent, that they're your child, you create this foundation where, okay, if I tell mommy this will happen, and I not worry about it because I'm comfortable with my mom. Have that relationship where your child could be like, Ma, today I'm like the worst
talk to
day
you.
ever, and they could just blab off them out and you listen because you are the parent. And honestly, I have that relationship with my mom, because why would me dearest, why would I go and tell my auntie, oh my dear, gone this way, that way, maybe, but I not tell she the full story like how I would tell my ma, because I know that maybe something worse gone happened to me and only my ma could talk to. The only contact that child could know, ma and pa, and granny, grandpa. Stop letting not saying that you shouldn't, but stop letting family members that are not close to you as a parent get close to your child,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that creates a barrier where, oh, you could tell me and I not tell you, ma. That's why people prefer hang out with their auntie, because they do this and that.
Yup.
No, I'm not saying to, allow drinking and their other
Right.
stuff will create other traumas for your child, but create that environment where your child is so comfortable that you don't have to worry if he or she goes out, he or she tends to do this and you don't know, and a friend come to tell because they're in danger. Do not create that barrier, parents. I am telling you this in advance for that, for he and she, they and them, to grow up the right way.
Yes.
You're creating the future. Don't create a bad one, because the government is corrupted. Don't be corrupted, parents.
The world
The
corrupted.
world is corrupted.
Yeah.
Be your child's safe space.
Safe space.
Like,
Yes.
in like the example, like I was gonna say, like if something goes wrong right now, if some like my whole world crashed down right now, the first person I'd call is my mom.
Exactly.
Like if like something just goes, like she made herself that person for me. Like if something go wrong, I'd the first person you could call, no matter what, how bad you think it is. Even if you think I might get bix, tell
Exactly.
me. And that's what I think most parents should be,
Mhm.
that person for their child. So please be the safe place. for your
Yes.
Yeah.
parents.
Make that connection.
Please.
Even if the parents live separate, still make that child know
Be
his
involved.
or her
Be
parents.
Be involved.
If you live with mommy, know daddy. If you live with daddy, know mommy.
Please.
No, keep that distant child, because then you are creating neglect.
Yeah.
You say, oh, so you never really love me. You gonna make that.
Or not separate your kids from their parents just because of something the other parent might
Come
do you.
on.
That's-
Don't use your
that's-
children as a pawn.
No.
Yeah. And
Cut that bad man.
You to take away what opportunity for your child.
Come on.
yeah, that's cutting development where it needs. Maybe maybe the dad really wants to hang out, and you say, oh no, because they
Yeah,
wrote
no.
that one and this one. It's the dad, and I understand that's where he's supposed to understand. This father, son and daughter time. This is what we are do.
Yeah.
We don't need everybody know. This the our time.
They don't have no own boundaries.
Yeah.
Not short your children or relationship from their parents, because at the end of the day, that's all kids really have. Their parents, you go back to them at night, you see them first thing in the morning, you have to,
For the whole
that who you
18
rely
years.
upon the entire 18 years. Please build a relationship with your children, because you the all they got.
Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that certain situations are difficult to even keep the child, but keep in contact. Try, maybe in the next 5 years, still try to get know your child and stuff. So honestly, ladies, I want to say it. Thank you. Thank you so much again for coming in and talk about this topic under domestic violence and child abuse. And with that, I'll say have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.